Okay. Hey, what's going on, guys? Uh, Wait, am I live? I think I am. It's always weird when you're watching a live stream, right? And you're at that like the very opening. And the person hosting the stream, they're doing that whole like, am I live? Looking at the screen and looking back at the camera. Yeah. No. Alright, we're live. Alright. Hey, how's it going, guys? How you doing? Sorry about starting a little later than usual. I just got back from a run. You can see I'm like kind of sweaty a little bit. But yeah, no. Jumping right into it. How you guys doing? How was your day? What comics did you pick up this week? It's a pretty light week this time around, huh? Hey, what's up, DP fan? How you doing? Comics time. Yeah, you're right. I should probably get my phone less noisy. There we go. But yeah, it's kind of a light week in comics this week, wasn't it? Didn't really see anything that like struck me where I felt moved to go to my local comic shop. Yeah, I don't know. There's cool stuff out there. It just, it takes an hour for me to get to my local shop, and I just didn't see anything that justified making that hour-long commute. But maybe you guys had something on your poll list that was, worth making that trek for. But yeah, outside of that, I have been doing some reading. I have words. I'm going through currently, because I'm like super late to the party, the Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp Green Lantern books. This is great. This is probably like comic book heresy. I'm not the biggest Green Lantern guy. I think Green Lantern's really cool, like as a concept, but it's that thing I talk about with the X-Men where, I'm more so into the idea more so than I am the thing people who actually read Green Lantern are actually into reading Green Lantern for, with like, the dense like the lore and the mythology and Hal Jordan is Space Jesus. I don't know. I like space cops. I like cops in space. I think that's a weird, cool sci-fi idea. That's what, that's kind of what this book is. It's just kind of space cops, and I think it's really fun. Also, Liam Sharp's art's really great. Liam Sharp's like quickly becoming one of my favorite artists working right now. DP fan says, doing pretty good. Waiting for another Crisis crossover for Marvel and DC since they're easy to predict. LOL. Yeah. I was it's weird you bring that up. I was just watching oh man, what's his name? Perch. Perch was talking about the predictability in comics and how a lot of people kind of they throw around terms like SJW this or alt-right that, but really what they're the real thing is like, it's just predictable. He explains it way better than that, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. I feel like a lot of there's a lot of stuff that's like pretty predictable, but there's also a lot of stuff that's not predictable. You just kind of gotta like, bob and weave and make your way through the jungle that is comics. See what stands out to you. Let's see. DP fan says fans were hating Grant Morrison's Green Lantern so hard. I thought it was cool sci-fi. Yeah, me too. And it looks like my stream did a weird thing there. Hopefully, I didn't cut out. But yeah, no. I'm mostly reading like a lot of back issues right now. I'm reading a lot of Batgirl. because I'm working on a Batgirl project. And I guess I'll just kind of like not spoil the video, but just kind of like talk a little bit about what I'm doing with Batgirl right now, particularly Barbara Gordon. So Barbara Gordon is one of those characters where, okay, let me take a step back. When people talk about legacy in comic books, right? And like particularly like legacy done right in superhero comic books. You got people looking at Green Lantern, they're looking at the Bat family with Robin and like Batman as the Mantle Batman, and the Flash, but nobody ever really brings up Barbara Gordon, which is weird to me. Oh, what's up? Hey, C-Bay, how you doing? Reading Punisher Max. I forgot how depressing it is. Yeah, Punisher Max will drain your soul. But like not in the fun way that like Noob Saibot says you will. And hopefully anybody gets that reference. If anybody watched like that kind of crappy but like kind of fun Mortal Kombat movie from like a couple months ago, I had fun with it, but I was also like drinking when watching it, so like, it's everything's fun when you're drunk. But yeah, no, but like back to Barbara Gordon, yeah, it's just weird to me how she's completely overlooked in that whole legacy conversation, I feel. When I think she's easily one of not just DC's best legacy characters. I think she's like one of the best legacy characters in like superhero comics in general. Like I think that whole Batgirl lineage is really fascinating, and I think one of the, and I'll talk about this in the video that I'm working on right now. I think one of the advantages that Batgirl has over a lot of the other like A-list legacy heroes, is that she's not necessarily as popular as them. So she never really had that problem where she was like shoved in the limelight. And I talk about that with like Dick Grayson. I think that's a problem that Nightwing has. Where he's a character who's not really built for being on his own. That kind of defeats the purpose of what Nightwing represents. Where, Nightwing is this character who... Okay, Dick Grayson is a character who is trying to get out of Batman's shadow and, like, establish his own sort of, like... he's trying to be his own man. And part of the thing that sets Dick Grayson apart from being, like, Bruce is that... Well, Bruce has never been alone, which is the thing that Grant Morrison talks about, and something that I really appreciate in Grant Morrison's analysis of Batman. And I'm going to talk about Grant Morrison's run. I have it over there. I have the three, like... Actually, I was going to say overexpensive Omnibuy, but they're actually priced pretty fairly. In fact, I think they're priced more than fairly. But the thing I really think is cool about Batman, going off of Grant Morrison's analysis, but also going off the analysis of other creators like Jim Starlin and not Chuck Dixon. Well, not Chuck Dixon a little bit, but Jim Starlin and Roger Stern, definitely Roger Stern, is that Batman is a character who has never been alone. We often kind of like we romanticize the grim darkness of Batman's lore and mythology, but really Batman, he's had Alfred and Robin and like a whole Bat family from like the very beginning. He was only what you see, or like what you're gonna see in like Matt Reeves' Batman movie, where he's just like alone in his like penthouse suite or whatever, and he's just depressed and sad. He was only that for like a year, and then he got Robin like in the second year, and then Alfred came along a little later on in the Golden Age. Alfred's a later inclusion. That's something that I forgot about. I'm also going through like a lot of the Golden Age Batman reprints that DC's putting out. But one of the things that's interesting about Sorry, I'm going on a big tangent about Batman, but I'm really trying to talk about Nightwing, which is gonna pull me into talking about Batgirl. But one of the things that's cool about Batman is that Batman, he's never been alone, but he puts up this shield, where he likes people to think that he's a loner, even though he's not. But Dick Grayson doesn't have that. Dick Grayson owns the fact that he needs people. He is a people person. And I think that's one of the crucial parts of Dick Grayson's character. So when you take Dick Grayson away from like the Teen Titans and you like throw him in discount Gotham City, which is like Bloodhaven or whatever, well then you're missing the point of Nightwing. And I'll get to but yeah, that's kind of the whole problem with Nightwing, in my opinion. Like he's a character built for a team book, because he is a team player. That's the point of Nightwing. When you put Nightwing in his own solo title or he's off doing his own thing, well then that's you're missing the point there. But that really only happened because Nightwing's popular. And to bring this all the way back to Batgirl never really reached the same heights of popularity that Nightwing or Dick Grayson reached. So she never really had that problem where she was kind of like forced into a role that didn't fit her. Although I think, ironically enough, you definitely could have done a solo Batgirl book. I mean, a lot of those like Batman family books from like the 70s are solo Batgirl stories. But it might be a situation where DC was looking at sales and just like factoring in like, oh, she probably just wouldn't have sold very well. But no, I think because Barbara Gordon was so much in the background, or I guess like relatively in the background, she had more room to breathe as a character. And again, I talk about that in the upcoming video that I'm working on, and I'm really excited to start working on that. I just recorded the audio for that, and I'm gonna start editing that tonight, actually. But yeah, no, those are my feelings on Barbara Gordon. I think Barbara Gordon might be one of DC Comics' best legacy characters, which makes you really sad about the New 52. But again, I talk about that in the video. Let's see. DP fan, Cassandra Cain is my favorite Batgirl. Pause. Yes. Man of culture. I love you. But yeah, I agree. Seems like Barbara Gordon's legacy and impact goes forgotten with legacy characters. The tropes of legacy characters being forced, torched, abused, and forgotten. Yep. That's I'm in 100% agreement with that one. And yep, Batman was only alone for 1 year of 1939 in the Golden Age, and Robin back in 1940 during the Golden Age for kid and teen reader demographics. Yep, all true. That's like a big thing for me with Batman. Again, I understand where the mentality of making Batman this like solo creature of the night. He's so angry and edgy and he's Batman. But I don't know, like it's just kind of funny to me that like Batman's portrayed that way when he's like also sandwiched between Superman and the Wonder Woman. And they're these like brightly colored like Greek pantheon gods, and then Batman's just expected to be there like I'm just mad and angry. I just think that's kind of silly. Also with like a million child sidekicks in like bright colored body armor and like it's just, I don't know. I find that funny. And yeah. But no, I don't know. I've also been thinking a lot about Batman. That's probably why like I'm very Batman heavy right now in this in this stream. Because I've been doing a lot of the Arkham Asylum Let's Plays. And I'm actually pre-recording them so I can actually get them out on time. Because I am a chronic procrastinator. So I'm trying to get those out in a timely fashion, trying to get those out daily. I'm right now at the part where I have to go fight Poison Ivy. And that's a pretty fun boss fight from what I remember. Granted, I haven't played Arkham Asylum, like, really, since, God, I think I was in high school. And I'm 25 now, so that's been a brick. But yeah, no, I'm having a lot of fun replaying it. It's been very. It's a rewarding experience because it is a fun game. Although, wow, going back to a game that came out 2 console generations ago, that game is very scaled back. Very scaled back. But yeah, no, I'm having a lot of fun with it. Also, like, it gives me, well, no. I was going to say it gives me an excuse to play video games, but that's not true. I play video games, like, every day. So there's really no excuse for me to not record gameplay or, like, do Let's Plays or live streams and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm doing what I do regardless. I'm just recording it now. Just like with these. Sitting in my room talking to people on the internet about comics. I'm just doing what I do regularly, just recording it. Or, streaming it in this case. But yeah, no, I had a point that I lost it. Yeah, anyways, chats. DP fan. I've been reading the entire Marvel and DC publications list. Really nice. Of all 3 books from the 30s to 2011, 2012. Pre-Marvel Now reboot and pre-DC New 52 for historical perspective, retrospective, and knowledge. Plus, for good reads. Commendable, respectable. I feels you, fam. I'm kind of the same way. I've been reading comics for... Damn, I've actually been reading comics for like close to 20 years. My mom and my dad were like really big comic book nerds, so I've had comics in my hands since I could understand that ripping them was a bad thing. Basically. Yeah, man. I think I said in my like the last live stream last week that the first comic. I think DP Fan actually asked this question. What my first comic was. I'm pretty sure it was that like a reprint of Amazing Fantasy 15, and I got that when I was like 5 or 6 years old. But yeah, no, for me, I've just had that like insane love for just like the history and like legacy of these characters and their mythologies. Really fascinating stuff. Whew. Yeah, right now I'm kind of at a point though, and maybe this is like a temporary thing, and I hope it's a temporary thing, because I don't want it to be like a full-on like, how do I say this? Oh, screw it. I'll just dump my feelings out there. After some of the conversations I've had on here, and even just in general, I feel like Marvel and DC are at this weird kind of... They're at this weird, like, evolutionary point that will either make or break them. And they've hit these points before, definitely. Like, you go back to, like, the 70s and, like, early 80s for DC. They had this, like, kind of internal crisis where... you have the stories of the Golden Age, and they're very much stories about, external concepts and problems going on in the real world. And then you kind of transition into the Silver Age, and the stories just kind of devolve into being, I guess, like parodies of themselves. And I know there's like a lot of people who like have a strong reverence for the Silver Age, especially for like DC Silver Age. But for me, in reading a lot of those like Golden Age stories, and then reading those Silver Age stories, again, keeping in mind a historical perspective, you know, you do kind of, or I guess not you, but like I do kind of feel the same way about reading those comics that I do about watching like CW shows after they've been on for like more than 3 or 4 seasons, or even like the MCU where it's at now with Phase 4. I think Phase 4 is having this problem where the people behind those worlds and those universes aren't really concerned with telling stories anymore so much as they are just kind of, there's a word for it, and it's not coming to me, but they get very like self-referential and like kind of silly and kitschy and kind of like becomes a parody of itself in a way, and that's what DC Silver Age kind of feels like to me, which is something that like kind of radically changed when you got to, well, not radically changed, but something that got noticeably changed when you get to the Bronze Age, when the stories are more, they're more about stuff, if that makes any sense. And you know, well, and sticking with DC, because DC has like several of these. But yeah, no, like the Bronze Age kind of happens, and the stories kind of go back to being somewhat more mature and about like ideas and like the real world, and I think that's really cool and interesting. But DC, man, they just had a weird, and they still do. They have this weird penis heavy when it comes to Marvel, which I don't think is necessary. Like Marvel does its own thing and does it very well, or I guess they used to do it very well. Where you know they're kind of like the superhero like parody or like satire company, but DC just like, I don't know, they're so self-conscious, and like you really feel it, you know, like you ever like watch a guy at a bar or like at a party approach a girl and he's just like so, will she like me? Do I smell good? Like that's what DC is. Like you could, like in the same way that you can like just feel the wave of like insecurity from guys who like get rejected from girls at parties because they don't know how to talk to them. That's how DC feels with their approach to everything. And it's very sad because they have great characters, they have a great universe, and they can do things with their characters and universe that Marvel cannot do. And even when Marvel tries to do it, it doesn't connect with people and it just fails miserably. But no, like DC it's the home of heroes, you know, where you can do like insanely like biblical epic like stories with these characters that are like modern archetypes. I don't know, you can just do so much with DC, and they keep trying to be like Marvel, and I find it very disheartening. Yeah. But that kind of goes into my next point about Marvel, where Marvel has these points of reinvention, but I feel like they have them more frequently, because Marvel, much like their universe and characters, doesn't feel like, it feels like they're on it feels like they're in like a perpetually burning condominium, but like in a good way, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't make any sense, but I'll try my best to explain it. You know what? Okay, not a burning condominium. It feels like they're always trying to like shuffle things around. Like they're always afraid. Like Marvel is the top dog. Like Marvel dethroned DC as being the top dog, a long time ago. But it always feels like Marvel is in this place, and again, I don't think they have to worry about it, but it always feels like they're just shuffling everything around, and they're always so concerned with, oh no, what are they doing over there? What are you doing over there? The other publishers, they're gonna take our throne, change everything, all new, all different. And it's like, whoa, buddy, slow down. You are the top dog. It's fine. No one's gonna take the throne away from you for quite a while. You don't have to all new, all different everything up every 10 to 15 years. It's all good, I promise. Granted, some of those all new, all different status quos, I think, led to some really interesting stories. Particularly in the case of, like, going back to, like, the 80s, when Peter Parker got that alien symbiote suit, which I guess it's like the Clintar now. Well, no, Clintar, okay. So I am reading Donny Cates' Venom. But, yeah, so Clintar is, like, not really a species. It's just, that's the name that they kind of gave themselves because it means prisoner. Interesting stuff. I think that whole Donny Cates reinvention of the symbiote lore is fascinating. But yeah, no, going back to the 80s, I think that whole, like, Spider-Man status quo was fascinating. Whereas, like, the alien suit and the stories are more, like, they're less heightened and silly and more about, you know, the gangs of New York. And I think that's really cool. I think that's really fascinating. I also think the all new, all different, well, not all. It's so weird saying all new, all different, because when you say that in relation to Marvel, people just think of the reboot from, like, 6 or 7 years ago. But all new, all different is not all new and all different. That's like that's a thing Marvel's been doing for like 40 years. They just bring it back every once in a while and, like, you know, try to, like, it's new and it's different. This is our new motto, which you've never used before. Please don't look at our back issues where we have the same motto printed on comics from, like, you know, the 70s. If X-Men Legends 3 was to ever happen, who would you want to see? X-Men Legends 3. I'm sorry, this is Icy Nibizuki who said this. X-Men Legends 3. The game? I never played the game. I would love to play the game because I have a powerful PC now, so I have the hardware now to play the first 2 X-Men Legends games, but I never played X-Men Legends because my family was poor. I never had a PS2. But, you know, I think it would be really interesting if I was going to say if they adapted some of the Grant Morrison stuff into the Joss Whedon material, because I think that era is fascinating. Where you have, like, the simultaneous, like, no, the X-Men are going to inherit the Earth, and, you know, the mutants are going to be, you know, they're going to be the new thing, the new generational thing. And then House of M happens, and then you get into this new status quo where the X-Men are once again, and, like, the mutants are once again the, like, not just the minority in terms of, like, you know, political power, but they're literally the minority, like the ethnic minority, the species minority. Like they like dwindle down to like 5% of the population, I think, after the mutant decimation. Yeah, no, just I think doing that in like an X-Men Legends 3 would be fascinating. But since I didn't play X-Men Legends 2, I don't know if they've already done that. Although I do know from like some of the gameplay that I've seen, it looks like they're really pulling from the Ultimate Universe stuff anyways. So yeah, I don't know. But I would like to see another X-Men Legends game. But I think that's all tied up in like Activision, and I don't think Activision has any of the Marvel licenses anymore. Which is unfortunate on the one hand, because I think a lot of that license stuff was pretty good that they were putting out. Like I think the Spider-Man games that Beanox was doing was really good. I mean, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the Amazing Spider-Man, they are what they are, but they're also like movie tie-in games. You know, like outside of Spider-Man 2, name me one like superhero movie tie-in game that is like legitimately great. So like yeah, no, but like outside of that, like all the other Beanox Spider-Man games are pretty good, and it was kind of like disheartening to hear that. I mean, as much as I really like the Insomniac Spider-Man games, and I'm really excited for the Insomniac Wolverine game. That's gonna be really cool in my opinion, or not in my opinion. I hope it's gonna be really cool. I hope it's like a just a modern version of X-Men Origins Wolverine. Okay, no, I take it back. Okay, that is a movie tie-in game that's really good. That's a really good one. I'll give you that one. Yeah, no, I'm thankful for the whole like new status quo as like a consumer and as a fan, but it does kind of suck for people who don't have PlayStation consoles that they can't play the new Spider-Man stuff. And I think Activision was going to try to do. Actually, no, not I think I saw an article. I saw an article about how Activision was trying to. They were trying to do this whole thing where they release HD remakes of their classic games with the Marvel license. I think that would have been really cool. But you know, it is what it is, and that's what we totally don't have emulators for. And modding capabilities for. Yeah, DP fan, X-Men Origins Wolverine, the movie. There's a movie tie-in game for X-Men Origins Wolverine. That game is really fun. I never owned it, but I heard it was like, well, not I heard. I've seen people play it. It looks like a lot of fun. I think it's available for the PlayStation 3, so I'm gonna, as long as my PlayStation 3 sticks in there, I'm gonna try to get myself a copy. Let's see, going up. DP fan also said a little earlier, Marvel and DC feel stuck in limbo of self-conscious, fearful, eternal competition, the battle of the big two. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. I can also say, working at a comic store for a little bit, that DC is, and Stan Lee kind of backs this up. Not that everything Stan Lee said you could take at face value, because he was kind of full of shit a little bit. But like most of those guys in the 60s were. But Stan Lee talks about how, back when he was running Marvel as the editor-in-chief, how DC was always chasing them. So whenever there was like a series of Marvel books that had like a red cover, the very next month DC would like release comics with like a red cover, and then Stan, just to troll DC, would be like, change the covers to blue, and then DC would change the covers to blue. It's like, what if we made all the characters, you have the titular three standing up here, and you have like the hero who's like on the ropes, they're standing down here, and you just do that for all the books. And then DC would follow up the next month and do that. So yeah, DC's always played like second fiddle to Marvel ever since Marvel came onto the scene. And that has given Marvel this weird sense of, fuck you, I'm Marvel, I can do what I want. But like, some of the decisions they make aren't great. In fact, some of the decisions that they make are quite detrimental, not just to Marvel, but like to the whole, to the industry as a whole. As the market leaders, or I guess they're supposed to be the market leaders. But yeah, no, like it's just weird. it's just very weird. Marvel and DC are like on these polar opposite sides of the spectrum in terms of how they do business. It's just bizarre and fascinating. But oh, I'm sorry, I missed another comment that you made. DP fan also says, I think he was referring to something I said earlier, but SMH, been reading comics for almost 2 decades. First comics were black and white reprints of Silver Age stuff from dollar stores. Yeah, there was a time when Marvel and DC, well, I don't know about DC, but I know for Marvel there was a time when they were like really cranking out those Silver Age like reprint trades. I think they were called the Essentials. Those were really cool. I had like the first 2 of Amazing Spider-Man. No. I had the first one of Amazing Spider-Man, and I had volume. God, you're gonna make me do math on here. Well, screw it. I'm not gonna do math. But I will say that I had the one. It was the death of Captain George Stacy. I had the essential that collected that, and I had the essential that collected the first, I think, like 12 or 13 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. Those stories were a lot of fun. Again, the one drawback for the Marvel Essentials line was that they weren't in color. Like, bro, those comics are colored very beautifully. Even by like modern standards. Like I think the colors in those comics are really beautifully done. Like, it's cool that they were printed for cheap, and like they were able to get into the hands of like little kids who would like be able to read them, like me. But yeah, no, it would have been kind of cool if they were in color, but that might have been a little more expensive. By the way, I see 3 current viewers. Let's get 3 likes on here, huh? Come on, just for charity's sake, just for me. But yeah, no. Yeah, those comics were pretty cool. And I don't want to just like. I don't want to sound like I'm like bashing the Silver Age. Like, there's a lot of cool Silver Age stuff out there. Like the Fantastic Four stuff by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. Yeah, a lot of that stuff's really good. Although it's weird to talk about the Marvel stuff from the 60s in the same conversation as the DC stuff from the 50s and 60s, because they're just drastically very different. Like, they're living in 2 different worlds. But yeah, no. I really like the Silver Age of Marvel and DC. I don't know. I think the history of those companies are really fascinating. Just in terms of like storytelling and how storytelling evolved. It's part of the reason why, again, go back to DC. I really wish they just did not reboot. Like, I really think Crisis completely fucked up DC in its entirety. DP fan. Marvel and DC fighting for best continuity in a shared universe. Both of them with the Crisis level crossover events of reboots, retcons to explain and get rid of stuff they didn't like and keep the stuff they like. Yeah, and there's like a lot of problems with that whole notion of trying to have your cake and eat it too. And then Tevye Smoka's in the chat. Hey, what's up, Tevye? How you doing? Tevye says, we seriously need a Marvel versus DC crossover game. I would love that. I think that's a great idea that Marvel and DC just won't do. And a lot of it's wrapped up in just like parent company bullshit shenanigans. I'm not pulling that out of my ass either. That's coming directly from people who I know, or not know, but like I've met personally, who have like actual connections to AT&T, or I guess at the time AT&T, because AT&T was the parent company of Warner Brothers for a while. and actually do have connections to Disney. And it's just a parenting company situation. I would love it, if we could just get a cool. What was that canceled Marvel game? It was gonna be like a fighting game where you could cause like massive amounts of collateral damage and like put Zack Snyder to shame. That would have been a really cool video game for Marvel characters. But I also think it would have been a really cool video game idea just in general for like a Marvel and DC crossover thing. That would be really cool. I would be into that. Seabay says Marvel Unlimited redid their entire app a while back and completely screwed up my books. Really? That's unfortunate. Damn, dude. I'm sorry about that. How badly? DP fan, like is it stuff like lost, or do you have to is it like out of your library but you can still go back and re-download everything? I hope your stuff's not lost. DP fan, Marvel vs. DC Capcom edition. That could be cool. I probably wouldn't play it because I suck at the Capcom fighting games. I was a Mortal Kombat kid growing up, so as soon as Street Fighter hit my hands, no. I was some major ass at Street Fighter, and Marvel vs. Capcom for that matter. But I like watching my friends play. Also, I think that would be a pretty good a pretty good thing for Marvel vs. DC crossover. Because I definitely know a lot of people who love and prefer like the Street Fighter fighting game experience versus the Mortal Kombat fighting game experience. Although a perfect compromise between that is a Tekken style game. That's how you get them in. That's how you get both camps in. And then both camps will just be equally mad because people who love Street Fighter and people who love Mortal Kombat can't play Tekken to save their lives. Tevya Smoka says, seriously, why haven't we got a Marvel vs. DC fighting game? Parent company rights situations. Yeah. That's kind of the thing, as magical as Marvel and DC are, as ideas with these like massive stories and these universes and these characters that are larger than life and inspirational and it's still a business. At the end of the day, it's still business. So business comes first, unfortunately. Seabay says, it removed everything from my library and my current books. Oh, dude. I have to go back and re-add everything again. That sucks. But hopefully you don't have to repay for them, because that would really suck if you have to repay for them. Tevia says, it breaks my heart that Marvel vs. Capcom is dead. Is it dead? That'd be weird. Because I know Street Fighter just came out with a new game. Well, not just came out with a new game, last year, but still, that'd be weird. Tevia says, technically we got Street Fighter versus Tekken. The fuck? Street Fighter versus Tekken? Oh my god. How have I heard of this? Oh shit. Cool, this is my first time hearing about that. How does that play? Does that play because Tekken has that whole 3D kind of environment where you can go around the arena. Does the game do that? Or is it more like Street Fighter where it's strictly 2D? I want to get hip. That looks like something to look into. I mean, I have a lot of games on my PS4 that like I don't really play personally, but whenever I take my PS4 to like parties and whatnot, we play like all these. Like I have like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World on here, and I'm really glad they put that back on the PlayStation Store. And I also have damn, what else? What else is it? Alien. Alien Isolation. That's a game that I don't really play on my own because I'm just. I should. it is scary. Like I do get scared very easily. And I also have like the Lego Marvel games. Those are really fun, and those are really fun to play with people at parties. But yeah. DP Fan says Marvel Rise of the Imperfects 2. It got canceled and was gonna have that Snyder style level of action. So that okay. So it was a Future Imperfects game. Okay. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But again, Marvel gaming is like on an all-time high, like resurgence right now. So anything's possible. You know, like literally anything could come out. And that looks very exciting. Also, there's like rumors of a Marvel fighting game coming soon. I was expecting to see something at the Game Awards, but I didn't. But maybe at E3, you know. Let's see. Tevia says, personally, I would really love the Super Sons crossing with my girl Mayday Parker, Spider Girl. That could be interesting. Although I feel you, but for me personally, if there was ever gonna be like a big crossover type thing with between like any of the super bat people and the Spider family, it would be like Mayday and this is the one time I would think doing an aged up John Kent meeting her would work. That's like the one time I would accept an aged up John Kent. Or even the future. What was that weird thing that Jeff Johns set up? Like the Futureverse Teen Titans, where they become the Justice League, where Connor is Superman and Cassie is Wonder Girl, and Tim Drake is Ben Affleck from BVS. I think that would be pretty cool too. Or Dick Grayson. You have Dick Grayson meet Mayday Parker. That'd be really cool too. Although then you have like, at least for me, then you have like two like very street level characters, like, you know, doing a multiverse thing. That'd be weird. But like not if you do it like that Punisher Batman comic. Not that it's great, but it is fun. But yeah, no. Oh, Titans of Tomorrow. Okay, thank you. It slipped my mind for a second. But yeah, going back to the thing we're talking about with crossovers, I think it would be kind of fun if Marvel and DC again were to do another crossover. Just establish yet another universe where the Marvel heroes and the DC heroes, they occupy the same space. I think that'd be cool. Although I have been in a George Perez mood a lot lately, and I have read JLA Avengers again. That's a really fun book. I can't remember who writes that. Does Marv Wolfman write that? No, I think George Perez writes that. That book really understands the Marvel and DC universe just inherently. Like where I think it's funny when Superman and the Flash go to the Marvel universe, and they like survey the whole world, and they're like, oh my god, this universe, it's ruled by these tyrants because everybody hates their superheroes, because everyone, like the Avengers, they nobody likes the Avengers. Everybody loves us, the Justice League, back on our Earth. We have to take them down, which is just a hilarious the nuances of the Marvel and DC universes, and like the way George Perez highlights the difference between them, I think is chef's kiss. It's beautiful. It's perfect. It's everything that I love about old school Marvel and DC. Before DC was like really trying their damnedest to like be Marvel, and Marvel kind of lost their way and inadvertently wound up becoming DC. Yeah, Tevia says, evil Tim Drake did meet 10-year-old John Kent Superboy and try to kill him. Yeah, that was in the Peter Tomasi Superman book, I think. There's like a whole crossover with that too. That was a really good story. Icy Nimizuki says, Moon Knight and Batman crossing over would be very interesting. Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Because Moon Knight... The thing I love about Moon Knight is that Moon Knight... People love to talk about Batman as this, like... He's just a crazy person who goes out into the street and he beats up poor people. But that's not what Batman does he? Batman doesn't really care about street... Batman cares about street-level crime, but it's not his main goal. Batman hunts down the mob and organized crime, and he, like, breaks up rackets and shit like that. And then he just, like, stops, muggings and whatnot just because he's in the area. And just because, it's not going to be an inconvenience to save somebody from, like, turning into him, essentially. But Moon Knight actually is what people like to call Batman. A crazy person in a costume that just beats the shit out of poor people. That is Moon Knight. And I kind of love Moon Knight for it. But there's also like a supernatural element to his character that I think is just brilliant. And I think in a post, like, God, I feel like I'm like just on my knees just blowing Grant Morrison every time I talk about Batman. I just need to do a Grant Morrison Batman retrospective and just get it out of my system. I think in a post-Morrison era DC universe, post-Morrison Batman, where Batman kind of is a supernatural character a little bit, I think it would be very interesting to pair off Batman and Moon Knight. That'd be a very interesting pairing. Yeah, that'd be really cool, especially post-Warren Ellis. Because Warren Ellis kind of does like his run is like a pseudo, this is what I would do with Batman if I wasn't doing Batman. That was an interesting run. And it looks like they're going to be pulling from it very heavily from the Disney Plus show. Although that kind of, I'm nervous about that show. I really kind of am. Although I'll like keep it a buck, all of the Disney Plus Marvel stuff for me has fallen kind of flat. Like I start out really liking the beginning, and then just it always hits this point where I'm like, whoop, okay, why am I still watching this? Like I had that with WandaVision. Like after episode 3, I think I just stopped caring. I don't think I never watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I heard it. One of my buddies who is like really deep into the Marvel universe and the Marvel stuff, but like we talk about stuff a lot. He said it wouldn't be my thing, so I just kind of stayed away from it. I watched part of Loki. That last episode though, that's rushed. And Hawkeye. Hawkeye's the real thing that makes me nervous about Moon Knight. Like, I'm not sure. Have you guys read that Matt Fraction Hawkeye book? Really good. Surprisingly gritty. Well, not surprisingly gritty for a Matt Fraction thing, because his Iron Man book is very gritty. But there's some gruesomeness in that comic. But also some heart and soul. But like it goes places, and the show doesn't, because I don't think it can, because Hawkeye is part of the Avengers, and the Avengers are characters that are bright and colorful and sold to 5-year-olds at Target on backpacks. Um, so there's places that I'm worried the Moon Knight show won't be allowed to go because it has the Marvel Studios logo attached to it. But yeah, you know, I like Oscar Isaac a lot. So if anything, I'm gonna watch it just because I like Oscar Isaac. Let's see. Tevia also says, heck, my boy John Kent, as his little 10-year-old self, was meeting Gabby Honeybadger, and Rob and Damian meeting the all-new Wolverine would be really cute. That would be cute. Yeah, I think that could work. But like, I think a lot of pitches can work. It just depends on the execution of the idea. That's usually the thing. You just need the right writer with the right artist to execute a lot of ideas. It's funny, there's a lot of ideas that in comics we kind of think of, and I didn't really think of, we just kind of take them for granted, where if you went back like 20 or 30 years ago before they were a thing, everyone would tell you that's a terrible idea. You know? Like, if you went back to like the early 80s or the late 70s and you said, okay, we have this idea where, what if Spider-Man, right? He gets this alien costume and it's black, and then, you know, instead of fighting like the Big Wheel or the Vulture, you know, you make it like a gritty crime level like story where, you know, it's like The Sopranos. Well, The Sopranos not a thing yet, but like, you know what I mean. It's a gritty, like, you know, street level Sopranos kind of thing. It's a mob thing, but it's with Spider-Man. You would probably get kicked out of the editorial office. Because for the time, that's a weird idea. Why would you do that with Spider-Man? But now we take that for granted because a lot of modern Spider-Man, or I guess modern Spider-Man up until Dan Slott, is just kind of steeped in all the weird stuff that Tom DeFalco and like Jan DeMatteis and Christopher Priest were doing in the 80s. Or even like even if you go back to like the 70s, and you like tell DC like, look, we have this idea, right? We're like Barbara Gordon, okay? She's Batgirl, sure. We're gonna have the Joker like paralyze her and sexually assault her in her apartment. Yeah, what about that, huh? And then we're gonna bring back like, you know that book from like the 40s, the Suicide Squad that we did? Yeah, okay, we're gonna bring that back, and you know it's gonna be full of like supervillains that nobody cares about, and you know, we're gonna have Barbara Gordon. She's gonna be the Oracle because she can't go on the field anymore. She's gonna be like the eye in the sky, like the mission control. You know, the trope from James Bond. We're gonna do that, but with Barbara Gordon. The people would. Who was the editor in the 70s? Was it Julie Schwartz? Julie Schwartz would kick you out of his office and probably punch you in the face. Because that's just a radical idea that we take for granted now. And I don't know how we got to this topic, but yeah, no, it's funny. It's very interesting. There's like things in comics that we just kind of take for granted now that at the time, I don't think we really understand how radical they were. But Tevia says, oh, sorry, actually, DP fan, all the way up here, says, JLA Avengers crossover, that scene of the DC heroes attacking Marvel's Punisher because, they saw him as a fake superhero. Yeah! Great. I love it. Also, it's weird going back to like older Punisher stuff after reading Punisher Max. Like, Punisher Max kind of broke my concept of the Punisher. Let's see. Icy and Mizuki says, there's air quotations there, so I'm gonna try to do this in like a Mark Spector kind of voice. I have 3 personalities, and I serve a moon god. We are not the same. That's not the voice that Oscar Isaac is doing for that show. He's going for like a weird. I have 3 personalities, and I serve a moon god. We are not the same, Bruce Wayne. He's going for a weird I don't know. What accent is that in that trailer? I don't know what accent he's going for. It's weird. It's very weird. I never read Mark Spector to be British. Like, I never did. I know Blade is supposed to be British. But Wesley Snipes being Wesley Snipes was like, I'm not doing a British accent. You know, fair enough. Sure. It was the 90s. Nobody cared about Blade yet. And they still don't. When people think about Blade, they think of Wesley Snipes. So that's it. But Tevye says, WandaVision I thought was fun. Yeah, I thought the first 3 episodes were fun too. Tevye says, we got Kang. We got a Mortis. And, not even really a Mortis. He's not a Mortis. Everyone says it's a Mortis. Just because he has the same colors as a Mortis. But, not really. They give him a name. It's called, the Last One or the Eternal One or whatever the hell. But he's not a Mortis and he's not Kang. He's something else. Tevye says, I thought Hawkeye was great. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you liked it a lot. And Falcon and Winter Soldier gave us Captain Falcon, which I was happy to see. I'm glad that Anthony Mackie is playing the Sam Wilson Cap, and I'm glad that Sam Wilson Cap is getting more recognition. That was a status quo that I was really excited for in the comics, and I thought the early Nick Spencer stuff with that was great, and then just somewhere in the middle, he's listening to people on Twitter, and he's just kind of devolving into this, you're not my Captain America! And it's like, dude, stop. Just write the book. Jesus Christ. I don't know why writers get so hung up on, what people say to them on Twitter. What was it that, didn't, Mark Millar say that, people on Twitter make up, less than 10% of the comics reading audience? I know there's no creators who are watching this, but, please, for the love of for the love of God, stop pretending like Twitter matters in your comics, because most of the people reading comics, they're not concerned with what's going on Twitter. So just, stop it, get some help. But yeah, no, I like that status quo, and I'm glad that it's seeing more time. I just hope it's doing so in the comics too. Or this is one of the rare instances where I hope that the movies influence the comics, where we get more Captain Falcon. DP Fan says, I heard Kevin Feige wasn't happy with Moon Knight and its conclusion. Kevin Feige says, it's too dark and needs reshoots with more jokes. Well, I hope what you heard was a baseless rumor, because I don't want that. I don't want that at all. Tevye says, why? I'm not sure if you're replying to DP Fan or me. But yeah, I don't know. CBay, and I'm going to actually hop off here in a little bit. I'm just going to answer these last little questions here, because we're going over an hour. I still got some editing to do. But CBay says, I still say that for MCU Spider-Man 4, just adapt the first Kingpin arc from Ultimate Spider-Man. It's more mature, but they can throw in classic villains for muscle for the Kingpin. That could be really cool. Yeah, I agree. I think that would be pretty cool. I mean, I probably wouldn't watch it. Just because a lot of the... Well, not wouldn't watch it. Just I would need to see a trailer first. Because a lot of the modern MCU stuff is just not my bag. Although a lot of the MCU stuff, going back to the first Doctor Strange movie, just haven't really been my bag. So I think I'm just one of those people where the MCU is just not for me. But yeah, no, in theory, I think adapting the first 6 issues, not the first 6 issues, the latter, the second arc of Ultimate Spider-Man, that'd be a pretty cool thing to do for a more mature Spider-Man film. It's weird that we have 9 Spider-Man movies and none of them are about the Kingpin. Well, no, one of them's about the Kingpin. but it's a Miles Morales thing. Not that that like delegitimizes it at all, but like, it's just out of the 8 live action Spider-Man movies, like no one thought to do Kingpin. And like it's weird, of the 8 live action Spider-Man movies, only one of them is about, you know, Spider-Man taking on organized crime. That's, I don't know, that's weird. But yeah, no, that's just bizarre to me. Tevia says, Spider-Man Beyond, I found to be really bad, and this arc has been crap. Yeah, well, I'm just waiting until this whole thing's over, because I saw the teaser that Marvel Comics released earlier today, where John Romita Jr. John Romita Jr. is back at Marvel, and I'm excited for that, because I really love John Romita Jr. as an artist for Spider-Man. I'm not too keen on his arc for Superman. I thought it was pretty good for that first arc that he did with Jeff Johns and the New 52, but just after that, But I don't know who was the working colorist for those books at DC, but just whoever was doing the inks and colors for him at DC. Oh, no. Not good at all. I much prefer the colorists and the inkers that are at Marvel when it comes to Romita Jr.'s art, because I think they do a better job of inking and coloring him. Unless he inks himself. I don't know if John Romita Jr. inks his own work. But he might. He might. And I know I said I was going to hop off here in like 5 minutes ago, but yeah, I'm going to answer these last questions, and then I'm going to pop off. Icy Nibizuki says, Mark went to Egypt and was rich. Of course he's a Brit. Fair. Okay, fair enough. You got me there. Tevya Smolka, shame. Marvel ruined Falcon Cap and then Secret Empire happened. Yeah, although we've talked about this before. I do disagree with you. I like Secret Empire, but that's only because I feel like it's injustice, but like done right and actually interesting. I see Nibizuki says Kang is the type of person to give a kid candy and later rob him. Yeah, and that's why I love Kang. That's why Kang's one of my favorite villains. DP fan. Falcon and Winter Soldier, that scene where Falcon is broke and says that he never got paid by the Avengers, despite Tony saying that he paid for everything in Age of Ultron. Yeah, that's... Again, there's just weird stuff like that. Also, I feel like that goes against the point of the Avengers. Like, okay, the heroes of the DC universe, right? Those are like the clubhouse heroes. You know, they have, you know, the Watchtower, or I guess the Hall of Justice sometimes. But that's very much just like friends who are like hanging out. Well, not just friends. That's like a family. Like, you know, like you have those like, family's not always what you're born into. It's what you build around you. The DC universe is that's a family of heroes. You know, the Justice League is a family. They found each other, they've connected, and they built themselves a clubhouse in space because it's the Pantheon. So I don't really expect them to be getting paid for anything. But like the Avengers are not that. They're a group of friends. Well, they're work buddies who are like arms of like the military industrial complex and like arms of like the authority. They do get paid. They're contract workers. So that's just weird. I don't know. Falcon doesn't get paid. That's dumb. That's just dumb. Completely missing the point of like what Marvel characters are, but yeah. Tevya says Twitter shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't. In the words of Dave Chappelle, Twitter's not a real place. Which is why I probably should stop doing anything on Twitter. Should I get off Twitter? I'm really thinking about it because I don't know. Just there's a lot of stuff I see on there. It's just like, oh God, why am I still here? HR goes vocal. Hey, what's up? How you doing, HR? Yeah, what's up? What are you reading? DB fan. I thought Mark Spector was Jewish. He is. I just never read him as being British. Like none of the... You know how sometimes when you read comics, you can tell when a British writer is writing people versus when an American writer is writing people? And also when a British writer is writing Americans versus when an American writer is writing Brits? Or, when Brits are actually writing Brits and when Americans are actually writing Americans. When you can tell. Throughout all the people who've written Mark, he never sounds British to me. But, I mean, was it Icey Mizuki who said earlier? That, he went to Egypt, he's rich. Yeah, that does make sense. Tevia says, new question. How would you de-age my boy Jonathan Samuel Kent Superboy, or bring my boy John Kent Superboy as a little 10-year-old self and his imposter, who's the older one, a fake? Well, first of all, sorry for butchering everything you wrote down there. It sounded like I just had a stroke right there. But you know what? Honestly, at this point, I would just keep it. I would own it. Because too much has been done now. It would be like killing Damian Wayne again. Because I have the same problems that you have with John Kent, I have with Damian Wayne being alive. I feel like Damian Wayne's character arc ends after Batman Incorporated, and he shouldn't be back at all. He should be dead. He should be in the ground. It's over. He had his character arc. He is Elektra. Like Marvel just... Actually, it's weird. Frank Miller brought Elektra back, and I don't know why. Her character arc was over. But, Elektra's character arc ended, and then she gets resurrected, and she's just back now. I feel the same way with Damian Wayne, where, his character arc ended, but he's back now. But there's no way to, really undo that outside of killing him. But, I mean, so much has been done with the character since. If you just kill him now, well then, what are the consequences of that? So I feel the same way about John Kent right now, where, I don't like that he's, 20 years old now, but so much has been done with him in such a short amount of time. I don't think any of it's good, but I think the ideas behind it are at least interesting enough to merit him sticking around as a 20-year-old Mark Grayson Invincible ripoff, which is really what it is. Let's not stand on ceremony here, Mr. Wayne. That's what that is. The editors for DC Comics saw that Invincible was going to get really popular, and then it did get really popular, so they were just like, who do we have that's like Invincible? That's why Jonathan Kent is an adult now, I feel. Or I suspect. But yeah, no, I think we're just going to have to stick around with that status quo for a little bit. Icey Mizuki said, did Moon Knight really cut someone's face off? Yes, he cut off Bushmaster's face. And not Jed McKay. I can't think of the name of the guy who wrote that. But I think not Tony Daniel. I think David Finch did the art for that run. Really gruesome stuff. Probably not gonna be in the in the Disney Plus show. And if it is, I will be very, very surprised. Pleasantly surprised. But yeah, still. Oh, you did that. Cool. Although it depends on how you do it. It's that thing with adaptations where sometimes things are adapted from the comics, but they're done in a way that's like kind of hollow and like it's just fan servicey and meaningless. Like a big thing that stands out to me is Superman's black suit in the Snyder Cut. I love the Snyder Cut. That's probably like my favorite superhero movie of 2021. But why is Superman in a black suit? It looks cool. Because I'm one of those weirdos who thinks Superman looks really cool in black and actually prefers seeing Superman in black. But why? I don't get it. Weird. Or like same thing with oh man, wow, I had a point and then it just completely left my mind. Oof, that's bad. But yeah, no, it's the thing where you see them a lot in adaptations where like things are adapted and it just kind of feels hollow. And it's like, all right, I guess. You did the thing, hooray! Tevia says, I never was a fan of John Romita Jr.'s artwork at DC Comics, especially with Bendis' Superman. I agree. I think a lot of that comes down to the coloring and it's a coloring issue and it's an inking issue, I think. But I think his pencils are still really strong. DP Fan says, SMH, at times the MCU doesn't feel like my thing, especially post Phase 2 when Marvel Entertainment and Marvel Studios had that split and Kevin Feige had full control. Yeah, I'm kind of in a similar boat. I think everything after the Avengers... The thing I like about Marvel Phase 1 is that everything feels diverse in terms of content. And everything feels... You know, people, when you say that the Marvel films are like homogenous or just like they have this one uniform tone, and they get really like uppity about it, they're like, actually, Ant-Man's a heist movie, and Black Panther is a political espionage. It's like, oh my god, shut up. You know what I mean though, right? Like, I have that a lot, but I feel like Phase 1 was very much that. I feel like Phase 1 was very much, the first two Iron Man films. Those are cyberpunk, not political dramas, but they're like cyberpunk corporate espionage stories. Did I say espionage? Espionage stories. And you have The Incredible Hulk. That's a fugitive film crossed with like, a universal horror monster movie. And then Captain America is the Rocketeer, basically. And Thor wasn't the best, but it was this kind of like epic Shakespearean experience, or it was trying to be at least. And then you get the Avengers, which is like a weird combination of all of those things. But then everything else in the MCU after that point just feels like the Avengers. So, yeah. Again, I don't think they're bad. It's just not my thing, personally. It's not what I'm looking for from adaptations of Marvel stuff. DP Fan says Damian Wayne and Elektra equals brought it back for popular demand. Yep, I agree. But that's the thing that I was talking about earlier in the stream with Dick Grayson being forced into a solo title. Just because they're popular doesn't mean they need to come back or have their own solo title or anything like that. But that's also not how capitalism works. So, there is a level of responding to the market versus, genuine creative ingenuity that's like at odds with itself. That I think is, it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. DB Fan, Tevia says, Same here, and Bendis ruined everything. Well, Bendis, well, I don't agree with a lot of what he says, especially about what he was trying to do with Superman and like his interpretation of Superman. You do have to remember, all of those ideas that Bendis came up with were filtered through editorial. So, is it really Bendis you're mad at? Okay, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more chats. I'm going to address those and then we're done because I am 20 minutes over now. But yeah, DP Fan says Bendis was just following editorial mandate for Didio and Jim Lee's canceled DC 5G reboot. I heard it was the opposite. Or not the opposite, but I heard something else about that. I heard that Grant Morrison stepped in to stop DC from doing what they were trying to do with the 5G reboot, where Superman was going to be like a Trump voter, and he's going to like, you know, I'm your dad and I'm taking over the world. And Grant Morrison was like, please don't do that. I don't even work for you people anymore, but like I'll write Superman so you don't do that. But yeah, like everything with like Superman's identity being outed, or not being outed, like Superman outs himself, and like the whole thing with Jonathan Kent being aged up. I heard that those are all Bendis ideas, because Bendis wanted to like do stuff with Jonathan Kent as a leader of the Legion of Superheroes. Weird and interesting, and not interesting in ways that I'm a fan of. DP Fan says, oh, you responded to Tevia. And IC Mizuki says, John Romita Jr.'s art for Kick-Ass was pretty good. I agree. That's, in my opinion, that's still some of John Romita Jr.'s best stuff. I think those Kick-Ass books are great. Like, legitimately, I think they look great. I love those stories. I can't tell you why I love those stories, but I love them. They really spoke to me when I was like 15. Or I guess maybe that's just it. They really appealed to me when I was 15, and part of me never really grew up in that sense. And Tevia says, also 5G had Damian Wayne becoming a villain. Yeah, although I feel like that is less like a malicious like attack on Damian Wayne and more so just trying to adapt, or I guess trying to bridge the gap between the alternate future from Batman 666 and Damian after he's come back to life. Although that would be really dumb, because the whole point of Batman 666 is that is a future that will not happen, because Damian learns his lesson that Batman's not alone. I'm going to talk about Grant Morrison's Batman one day soon. But I have like a couple other videos lined up. But yeah, for the meantime, I'm working on, I can tell you like right now, I'm working on a video about Barbara Gordon. Hopefully that comes out in probably like the next week or two. Because that's going to be like a quick little, like, eyeballing it. It's like a 4-page thing that I wrote. Like a 4-page script that I wrote. Or I guess like notes. It's not really a script. It's like more like notes. So that's probably going to be like, what, 7-8 minutes. I'm also working on that Ultimates video. I'm still working on the script for that. I'm not quite happy with it yet. I'm still working some stuff out, but that should be coming still in February, like late February. And I'm also gonna work on like a Miles Morales versus Peter Parker video. I'm seeing a lot of people talk about how Miles doesn't feel like the real Spider-Man, and they're going against people who are like, no, Miles is the real Spider-Man. He's just another Spider-Man, and you're being racist and dumb because what about What about Miguel O'Hara? What about all the other Spider-Men, like Ben Reilly and all that? So I think that whole conversation is fascinating, and I wanna do a video addressing that, because I have a position on it. I don't think either extreme is gonna be happy with what I say, because I have like a, yeah. But yeah, yeah, those are like the three things I'm like really working on right now, and yeah, maybe in the foreseeable future, I can do a video talking about Grant Morrison's run on Batman, because that's a run that I've like been itching to talk about ever since I kind of rage quit doing the Scott Snyder Batman videos. But yeah, again, in the meantime though, I'm still gonna be doing those daily uploads for the Arkham Trilogy. Hopefully you guys are enjoying that content. I'm having a lot of fun just replaying the Arkham games. Arkham Asylum's been a lot of fun lately. And I'm actually almost done with it. That game is hella short, dude. So I might start doing not Arkham Asylum. I might start doing Arkham City, like near the end of January, instead of starting it in the beginning of February like I planned. But yeah, no, that's it. That's all I got for you today. Thanks guys for watching. I have a lot of fun doing these every week. It's really fun to talk to y'all, and yeah. Obligatory YouTuber stuff. If you like this video, if you like this live stream, hit the like button. Share. Support the channel. If you want to see more content like this, all you gotta do is subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and hit that little bell for notifications, so you can be alerted to all of my new uploads and posts. I'm the Mystical Green Beanie. I actually have my beanie right here today, because I went exercising before I did this stream. But I don't know why I said that. That's weird. But yeah, no. Mystical Green Beanie. Thank you guys very much for watching and sticking around and talking with me and indulging me being a weirdo talking about comics. But yeah, as always, until next time. Adios, nachos. Adios.